Good afternoon, everybody. I will be relatively short here. I just want to paint a picture at the very onset of what our directors of sales and growth, our DSGs, and managing brokers and sales managers and brokers when it comes to growing the company and finding new agents. So just point of reference, you guys, the DSG group have our new commission, or not new, but commission programs that have been outlined for all of our regions. And they are really the gatekeeper, if you will, of those commission programs. That doesn't mean, though, that many of our managers, brokers, even other support staff are helping in the recruiting efforts, maybe even recruiting themselves. But when they do have a recruit to get into this kind of flow for the onboarding, they present when the time is right to that recruit an offer to affiliate. And that offer is in the form of a letter that has a lot of our value prop on there, and then the commission program and some of the details behind that commission program for that agent to consider. And if they decide they want to affiliate, and or if there's any debate or negotiation or discussion around that, the DSGs have that conversation with other leadership, myself included. And once we get to a point where the agent has agreed to affiliate, they would sign that document. And that document, for all you managers, brokers, out there, you would get that document from the DSG in your neck of the woods. It's just in a Google Drive. You just say, hey, I'm onboarding someone and I need that document, and they'll zip it off to you. For all your broker managers, I'm sure there'll be some side meetings in the future regarding this. If you're doing the normal program with the normal details, there's nothing needed besides getting the document, getting it signed, and getting it back to your DSG for them to launch what Carrie's going to show here in a moment, the onboarding kind of process with that. If you do deviate, if there's something that's different or you want to have a discussion, that does require having a conversation with me directly. So managers, brokers, alike, just reach out to me and your DSG, myself, Rob West, Bernie Merkley, any of the leadership team. We can all have a quick huddle, talk about what you're trying to accomplish, and figure out the best path forward. So if we are deviating, that does require a conversation. Otherwise, you grab that document from your DSG, you use that document as that offer, they sign it, and it's put into the system. You give it back to the DSG, and they will fill out the quick jot form that would trigger the process to move forward. So I just wanted to kind of paint that kind of preliminary picture. Now we know there's one step of redundancy in this, because we see that offer letter as a kind of a letter of intent, if you will. They're signing that saying, hey, I intend, I agree, I want to affiliate via this value prop, the focus on 5 things, and this commission program. But we also know that we do need to include that as part of the DocuSign process that Carrie's going to go through. So there is a redundancy step there where they may wet sign that in front of you, with you, at the recruiting table, if you will, but yet that'll be repeated again for a digital signature when they're going through the rest of their paperwork. Now, the one thing I do want to talk about real quick, and then I'll get it out of the way and send it to Carrie, with respect to brokers, managers, DSGs, we understand you want to strike when the iron's hot. And what I mean by that is you have someone that wants to join, so you want to get the paperwork done right away. And Carrie will talk about the timeline for onboarding. And frankly, it is very, very quickly once that first step of a DSG, filling out that quick form, uploading that letter of intent, if you will, that offer letter that's been signed into the system, and bada boom, it goes. But you have the ability, you guys, as Carrie will talk about, on 2 fronts. You have the ability to transfer the license if you want to do that right there. And I know in some pockets there's different ways to do that via the different state procedures. We know that's a step in the procedure, but if you want to make this more secure and strike when the iron's hot, you can execute that transfer of licensing based on your protocols in your state at that same time. And maybe it's even a note when you fill out to your DSG, or if the DSG does this themselves, make a note that, hey, we transferred the license, look for the transfer in whatever that venue is that the onboarder would do. So you're welcome to do that. And then secondly, and you'll see this as part of the process, and I noticed there was some conversation in Florida about this, is that most of the time in Florida, as I understand it, the manager, the sales, the DSG, whoever that might be, they've also initiated the referral rewards, meaning they've done that process. Where in Michigan, it's been done more centralized. I think that's okay. I think on the spreadsheet you're going to see with Carrie is, if you, again, at that recruiting table want to do the licensing or initiate referral rewards with Coldwell Banker at that same moment, feel free. You can absolutely do that. Again, just maybe notating when you hand that back to the DSG to trigger the process, or DSGs if you're doing this yourselves, just notate that for the onboarding team with Haley primarily, and Carrie and Jessica and some others that are kind of backfilling to let them know that you did that. But that's not out of the question. You certainly can do that if that's part of that. So I just want to paint a picture on kind of how we get to the trigger of what Carrie's going to do today. And then I want to thank all of you that went through a lot of work to make this happen. So I'm really excited about that and making this kind of more detailed and learning this new process. So with that said, Carrie, I'll shut up and toss it back to you.
Well, thank you, Jason. I really do appreciate that. And there has been a lot of hands on this deck, and I appreciate your insight, Steve Ladrito's insight. Haley's been super flexible with us and amazing. So Haley, if you want to just wave your hand so everybody knows who the amazing Haley is. I know you're on the call. You might have to unmute and just say hello to get you to come up on the screen.
I'm here.
There she
Hi.
is. Hi, Haley. So she is what the magic behind the scene is. Now, the good news is if Haley is on vacation in Puerto Rico, somewhere warm, you guys don't have to worry about it. Your process does not change at all whatsoever. The process we're going through here is the same. And then Jessica, Kelly, myself, those of us behind the scenes take the reins to give Haley a much needed break. So rest assured, this is not hinging on one person's shoulder. The process is set up so that it is available for everybody to be able to get our agents onboarded quickly. So thanks, Haley. I appreciate that. So I'm going to go ahead and reshare my screen here and make sure that I find the right one. So we've shared this before. We shared it on the last sales call, but I do just kind of want to go over it again. So this is a 2-page document. It went out in the recap from Jeanette. So after our last meeting, you should have this available to you for review. And again, to Jason's point, it's the process, but we all know you have a little bit of a local flair, and that's okay. And we're still learning through this. Nicole, thank you, in Ohio, pointed something out on the form. We can fix a lot of things. We just need to know that it's a pain point. So we love feedback. We're a continuous improvement company. Make sure you get that over to us. So if it's something that you're like, wow, that's good, but it could be better, absolutely let us know. So to Jason's point, the DSG, whether it's a managing broker getting to a DSG, they're working together as a team. We do validate their income. We get them into referral rewards because we don't want that holding up the onboarding process later, because we know they need to be accepted in referral rewards before they hit the Coldwell Banker platform, which is Dash. And then, of course, the DSG makes that standard offer. To Jason's point, strike while the iron's hot, get a wet signature if you want. And then we'll know what that information is so that later when we're triggering the onboarding paperwork, the agent will get it, sign it as part of their entire onboarding file, and then it'll go to who needs to see it. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Once that recruit either verbally or wet signs that offer, that's when all this process is kicked off. We have a JOT form here that the DSGs have given great feedback on. We've tweaked it, probably going to be tweaking it again at some point, but this is all of the information that is provided so that the onboarding process can start. Obviously, who's filling out the form, the DSG, their email address in case we need to get a hold of them with questions, who the recruit is, their email address, are they part of a team, right? That's important. We have a lot of teams growing inside of our own brokerage, and it's important for us to know that so we can treat it appropriately. What that team's name might be, their phone number, are they experienced or not? Again, some of these are just, they feel redundant, but it's a fail safe. So if we were like, oh, they're experienced, we need to make sure they're in referral rewards. That's kind of triggers just to help everybody make sure that all of these steps are being followed. We do like to know current brokerage. We like to track trends, right? If we're like, well, wow, we've gotten 3 agents from Remax, in this region over the last 6 months, it's good information for us to have. So we're able to track that information. Which Schmidt office are we joining? Again, we are a very flexible company. We add offices. We may change a few names on offices. So if you don't see this as you're filling out the form the way you think it needs to be, just get over to me. We can update that. We do need to know which board the agent will be joining, and we're asking for their primary. I do know there's pockets where an agent may join more than one. You can put that in the notes, but this would be for their primary. This will trigger Haley or whoever's doing the onboarding, which template she needs to send in DocuSign. So super important to know which MLS they're joining. Compensation plan starting level. And again, Jason kind of went over that form. So we just need to know what that level is. Also important is make sure they get the correct paperwork. Are they eligible for referral rewards? If so, who's getting it? The brand now allows co-sponsors. So if you are co-sponsoring an agent, we can actually put that into the brand now. And both of the sponsors will receive the payment when that recruit transacts. And then who should be getting the information for the broker. So what we have the DocuSign, obviously the agent needs to sign. There's a spot for the DSG to sign, but we know, especially with board paperwork, the managing broker or sales manager does designated realtor, whatever your title might be, do need to sign as well. So we need to know who that is so that we can then make sure that we get DocuSign set up correctly. And then there is an opportunity to attach that compensation plan here or other information if you're recruiting a team and maybe they have a different package than what we normally would see. That's how you can notify us by uploading that there. Jason, go ahead and you have your hand raised.
Just to be clear, this form is being filled out, you guys, by your directors of sales and growth. Yep. So managers, brokers, if anybody else is involved in that recruiting, exercise, when they get to that point where they want this filled out, they will communicate and work with the DSG to go and do this. We're not expecting anybody else to fill this form out. The DSG will be the trigger point for that, even if you were the part that did the referral rewards, the license transfer, and maybe had those recruiting conversations and got the agreement.
Yes, thank you for that. I did like to show the form because those of you that won't be filling it out, you have to provide the information. So this way you know what the DSG's view of the form is. Now, here's the cool part. The second you hit submit, an email goes to Haley, an email goes to myself, and it says, hey, we have a new agent onboarding form. Fantastic. By the time you hit submit, the standard that we are striving for, which we've not even come close to the 24-hour mark, but 24 business hours after you hit submit, the new agent paperwork should be sent to the agent. Now, we will ask, if we have a question, we're not quite sure, the form isn't quite clear, or it's just not real clear, we will call whoever completed the form to make sure we have the information we need. But we do anticipate within 24 business hours. So if you submit this on a Friday at 5:30, it's probably going to be Monday morning, maybe not, but probably Monday morning before the paperwork will be triggered. So just want to kind of set that expectation with the DSGs and the brokers on the call. So 24 business hours. And then the DocuSign documents will go to the agent. Now let's talk about DocuSign for a second. These are all of our templates that we will trigger when we get that new agent. So you'll see we have Aspire North here in Traverse City. We have Grand Rapids, Century 21 there in Venice. We have Amelia Group, all of our different regions. And then the MLS paperwork is in each region. So for example, this North, we actually have paperwork for Eastern Upper Peninsula and Upper Peninsula, for Emmett County, AKC. So we have different MLS paperwork already preloaded. And then Haley takes the information from the form and will only send the documentation that agent needs. So again, if they are joining two boards at one time, you can let us know. We can send them both at the same time, but the form is asking for the primary one. So for example, we'll pick on Grand Rapids. I'm just going to kind of show you what this looks like when it goes to live action. So when you come in here and we want to use this template, what Haley does is she takes the information from the form, she fills in the agent name and email, the manager, the DSG. We have a great spreadsheet that will then tell her who the ASC and or RSC. Obviously, if the physical location of the agent doesn't have a staff member physically in the office, we know it's well covered and supported by somebody else. So that's the name that would go in that spot. We send every agent paperwork to Paul, just so that he's aware on the system side. And then we have our accounting team of Mike Griffith and Kristen, and then our local regional commission specialist, which of course, these are hard coded because that's accounts receivable and payable for the whole company, but your regional commission specialist will get the paperwork they need. And that's important to notate here. So obviously the agent signing, they'll get a PDF when they're done of all signatures. Once the DSG signs, they'll have all their paperwork. And then once it's completed by the DSG, who's the final signature, the ASC is sent the information form, the one-page information form on that agent, plus they're sent any MLS paperwork that was filled out by the agent. So the ASC or RSC is getting the information they need. Regional commission specialist, they're getting the compensation plan with the levels, and they're getting the Schmidt Community Fund donation letter. And that's it. They don't have to see the IC agreement. They're not seeing MLS paperwork. They're not seeing the policy handbook that was signed. They're only getting what they need. Accounts payable and receivable, they're only getting the credit card form, or they're only getting the ACH form. They're not getting anything else. So the people on here are getting just the information that they need so that they can do their step of the onboarding process. So let's step back to our spreadsheet here. So this is where we're at right here. So again, submit that form within 24-hour business hours. That DocuSign will go out to the agent to sign. Now, obviously, everything that happens after that is based on the steps that the new agent takes. But this is how it works. New agents get sent paperwork. They do their portion. It goes to the broker, the managing broker. They sign their section. If there's MLS paperwork, a lot of times it's their section to fill out and sign. And then it goes to the DSG. The second the DSG signs theirs, we then get another notification that's saying this paperwork's complete. And from that step on, it should be about less than 24 hours until the agent is onboarded into our systems. Now, of course, a lot is happening here. We're making sure they're in referral rewards. We're making sure we're clear on what their email is that they'll be using, and we're validating all that information. And then the actual technology part of onboarding into account tech, feeding them to Dash, getting them into .loop or at files, all of that happens after that step. And then you can see once all paperwork's complete with agent process, that's that step there. Obviously, there's a whole checklist involved in that, but just to keep it here as the process flow, it's the agent is processed. And then really that's handed back to the DSG or managing broker. And then not on today's call, but pretty soon we'll be talking about our new launch, our new agent training, onboarding orientation that will then come up onto this part. Anything locally happening here, the ASC's meeting, the manager's meeting, all of that happens then. And then you'll see on the second page of this is all of these different people are involved in onboarding an agent. It seems in theory like an easy process, but you can imagine when you're involving this many people to get an agent onboarded, it gets a little complicated. And that's why using DocuSign and using it with the process flow really will help everybody stay organized. So this is simply our task list. What's the DSG do? What's the onboarder do? What's the manager broker do? What's the ASC do? What's the RSC do? What's the RMC do? And then of course the regional commission specialist and HQ accounting with accounts payable and receivable. Everybody has something to do here in order to get our agent onboarded. So if you guys have any questions about these tasks, again, this document already went out. You can take a look, or we'll get it out after the fact here as well, so that you can review it. I'm gonna go ahead and pause and check the chat just to see if I miss a question. I don't see that. So back to the DocuSign trigger. You guys will get, if you have a signature requested, if you're the managing broker of the DSG, you will get an email from DocuSign. It's going to let you know it's so-and-so agents, new agent paperwork. And when you click the link, it's going to take you right to where you need to sign. So that's your trigger. That's your notification. And then ASC's, accounting people, regional commission specialists, you get an email that says, you are a viewer of this document. You can click the link. It'll take you right to the document that you need. And then you can go through your own process flow, whether you're adding their compensation plan, if you're a regional commission specialist, or if you're in accounting, you're adding their credit card or ACH to account tech, whatever your step might be. You're then able to do that. Now, we have put a 24-hour trigger in that paperwork so that the onboarding specialist, Haley or myself or whoever's filling in, has 24 hours to get that agent to account tech. Then the regional commission specialist and accounting is notified. Because at that time, the agent's already in, they can go right to that agent's profile and account tag and add the information that they need to add in. So the process flow has already been tweaked just a little bit since we launched just 2 weeks ago. So again, your feedback is really important to make this process as easy and as user-friendly for everyone as possible. So we went through the DocuSign flow. So let's go back here to this task list here, this new agent marketing order form. We talked a little bit about this on BlueSync last week, But we just kind of wanted to cover that for you guys again real quick and show you where those examples are, because the question was, well, where are the examples? What can we show our agents when they're choosing their items? So now in the new agent marketing folder in our ASC drive, you'll see that that form is right here, and then those samples are here. So when you open up that marketing form, Jason and his team have come up with the standard offering for all of our new agents. They get 500 business cards, they get an email signature, they get 100 postcards, they get a name badge, and they get 3 agent sign writers. That's the standard package. The great news with it being standardized is there's no longer need for a PO number. So we can skip that step because this has already been pre-approved for all new agents. And then this form is filled out by the ASC. And then this form is then sent over to the RMC, the Regional Marketing Coordinator. Then the RMC takes it from there. They work behind the scenes. They get with marketing, and we get this fulfilled for our new agent. And then if you pop back into that drive now, thanks to Sarah Keeley, we have our examples. So the agent would be able to pick the look and feel that they want, templates that have been curated by the marketing group. Same thing for the email signatures. And same thing for the new agent postcards. Now, we all know that sometimes if we're bringing on a bigger team, if we're bringing on a top producer, if it's a global luxury top producer, there may be deviations to the standard offering, and that's okay. At that point, if it deviates off of our standard, which is on this form here, we just get a PO number. We'll work with the DSG to make sure that was pre-approved, to make sure everybody's good, and then we'll trigger that order process for the agent. But anything on the standard offering, no need for the PO number. So it really will speed up the process when it comes to getting our new agents with the information and the stuff that they need to be successful. So we're pretty excited about that. Now let's talk offboarding. So a lot of times we're not notified when an agent leaves. It's kind of like they may have notified an ASC, they may have told their manager, maybe we haven't seen them in 6 months and we kind of forgot they were even licensed with us. We have some of those, not very often, but once in a while. So we do ask that even if you're working locally to try to offboard an agent and maybe you've sent an email to accounting, we have a new form. And again, this form will make it so that everybody that needs to know about an agent's departure will be notified and they'll be able to do their steps. So unlike the onboarding form, which is only filled out by DSGs, the offboarding form can be filled out by whomever, an ASC, an RSC, a managing broker, the DSG, whomever it might be that was notified an agent's leaving. A DSG can be like, hey, ASC, I need a little help. Can you get the offboarding form filled out? You know, we realize this agent's leaving us. So in Schmidt Resources, in our people square, whether you're in the DSG square, if you're a DSG, if you're in the ASC square, if you're an ASC or RSC, or if you're in the manager square, you all have the ability to get to that link. So for example, in the ASC square, agent offboarding form is found right here at the top. And again, who is the DSG, whose email address, what's the name of the terminated agent, what's the agent's current email address. That would probably be their Google Workspace, CB Great Lakes, CB Schmidt, Ohio, CB Sunstar, but we're also asking for their future email address. If they still have an outstanding balance, we kind of want to know what their future email address is. This helps us get their information at the end of the year out to them as well. So again, if we know it, great. If not, put in NA. But if they operate their own Gmail or if they have their own Yahoo or whatever it might be, we are asking for that information here as well. And then again, because teams are a little bit unique every which way, I think every team's a little unique. We are asking if they were part of the team. And then again, just that team's name, agent phone number in case we have any questions. If you know where they're leaving us for, if you know they got, maybe they went to Schmidt Referral Network. So you can put Schmidt Referral Network there. And then of course, which office they're leaving us from and the why, if you know the why. They're getting out of the business. They took an opportunity somewhere else. They left us for, Joe Schmo broker, whatever it might be. And again, that's just for informational purposes so that we can track and see if there's any trends, if there's any particular area where we're really having a lot of attrition, or what that might be. But again, if you don't know and you're filling out the form, you can type NA, but as much information as we can get makes this process better for everyone. I do have a question, so I'm going to pause here real quick and read it. In the marketing material form, replacing the online project request form in the ASC tile through Schmidt Resources. Great question, Nicole. So specific to a new agent, their business cards, their name badge, this form is replacing that. So the ASCs now will fill out the form, which is in .loop in Michigan and Ohio. It's in App Files in Florida, or it's in that Google Drive. And then the ASC RSC sends it to their regional marketing coordinator. Now, if you're in an area that it doesn't have a regional marketing coordinator just yet, Sarah Keeley, who is an RMC in our Holland office, she's going to be sent those forms, and we're going to get that information out to you. That's a little bit different than what we talked about last week. So we'll get that information out to you, but then the ASCs and RSCs don't have to fill out the online form. The RMC then takes it from there. They coordinate with marketing, they communicate back to the ASC, and then we make sure that that process is all happening behind the scenes. So no PO number needed for the standard offering, and no longer need to fill out that online form. Great question, Amy. So the question was, do they fill this offboarding form out if an agent is going from Schmidt Office A to Schmidt Office B? We don't have the form yet because we realized it was a kind of a gap in the process, but we are going to be creating another JOT form for just that. Agents moving from Cascade office over to East Grand Rapids, we're going to have a form you can fill out. That way we can make sure that we move them in all of our systems. We're aware that they've stayed with us but moved offices. And then we'll have that form available in Schmidt Resources right next to the agent offboarding form, because it is slightly different information that we need. So it's a great question, Amy. Again, not up there yet, but it will be. And just to clarify, let me get back to Schmidt Resources. We will go ahead and put that right back or right next to the agent offboarding form. It'll say office change form or something along those lines. And to go back while we wait for some more questions and show, so if you're a manager on the call, click the manager square. If you don't have your password, go ahead and get over to either Bernie or Rob or somebody or myself. We can give you that form. We can give you that password, but in the manager square, the agent offboarding form will have that office change form right next to it. And then our DSG is on the call. In your DSG drive, if I can remember the password. Oh, good. You'll see right here that you guys, because you are the ones filling out onboarding, you have both onboarding and offboarding forms right here. You'll have the office change form right here, probably within the next day or two. Let me read this question real quick. Great question. So Christine asked, once that offboarding form is complete, does it automatically go to IT, to accounting, to everything like that? Or do they have to do something different? For you guys, all you do is fill out that offboarding form. That form then goes to Haley. Haley has a notification email that she fills out with all the pertinent information that goes out to everybody that needs it. So you guys just fill out the form. It allows us to track all of that data inside JOT form. And then the process goes from there, and everybody's notified that needs to be notified. No further, no further notification needs to happen from you. Great question. All right, I'm going to go ahead and show this again while we wait and see if more questions come in. Now, to reiterate, if you are a regional commission specialist on the call, and your process really hasn't changed, you're going to be getting the information from DocuSign. So that part of it's going to be a little bit different, but all your steps in account tech, everything that you do, that's all the same. That hasn't changed. Basically, what's changed for you is your notification. You'll now get a DocuSign email saying, hey, this is the new agent paperwork. You'll click on it. You'll be able to get their compensation plan, their Schmidt community form plan as well. If you need to go back to that information, you can log into DocuSign, and you can go into they call them envelopes in DocuSign, and you can pull out that information. The link sent to you does expire after, I believe, 7 days, but that data is there in DocuSign for you. If the question's complicated and you want to unmute and ask, feel free to do that as well. All right. Well, I don't have any other
Hey,
questions.
Carrie.
Yeah. Hi, Steve.
Just quick question and just maybe for point of reference for a few folks, but commercial agents will also be following the same process?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right, just making sure.
No, it's a great question. You know, you've worked with Todd, you've gotten a new commercial agent. The process flow is going to be the same. Few extra steps need to happen in account tech and such, but that's kind of all behind the scenes. All the front end process is the same.
Perfect.
Well, Carrie, thank you for doing this. We know this is a lot, you guys. We threw a lot at you in 30 minutes. We'll give you some time to digest it. You can watch this video again. You obviously have resources. But the bottom line is that when the DSG triggers this process, it automatically happens, and a lot of people are notified of what their piece of the pie is, and everybody executes their piece of the pie, and it kind of happens seamlessly. We know we're going to have some bumps in the road. We know we're going to learn a little thing or two as we go down this road. And we've already learned a few things as we've already started to implement this. And we know there might be some things that are outside of the norm. You know, we're recruiting something that's a little unique, or, you know, there's some sort of difference or something that we need to maybe adapt to. When you have those moments, just reach out to your DSG, those broker managers, sales managers in the region. We'll work through those things when they pop up. But we really feel like you guys have spent enough time on this to really execute this well. And I really appreciate all the effort that many of you have provided feedback for to make this happen today. So with that said, unless there's other questions, Carrie, we'll let you guys all get off. I don't know if I missed a question there or not. But
yep, just real quick.
Carrie, I got a question. Tom here.
Go ahead, Tom.
Who puts them in listings, leads, and app files and our separate programs?
Yep. So right now, app files is actually central by Haley. We haven't moved over listings to leads yet, and that's going to be on that task list so that you can review it. But we are still asking the local ASC to add them to listings to leads at this time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Carrie, for my benefit, they know that, meaning when an agent's onboarded, they know whether it's being automatically done in some cases, or in the case an ASC needs to manually do it in that particular office or that particular program.
Yep. It's on that task list as well that I'll resend out so that everybody can have a copy readily available to them. Absolutely.
Awesome.
The quick question was the Google onboarding, offboarding checklist that we had. That's still being used. Haley's using it. There are some steps for the ASC, so we're still using that behind the scenes to answer Christine's question. And then a good point that Nicole brought up is the systems have a little lag. So we put it into account tech. It pretty quickly gets to Dash within, 10, 15 minutes most, but then it can take 24 hours to get to Moxie after that, and another 24 to get to Testimonial Tree. So just the way the APIs work with the systems, it is a little bit of a lag in some of those systems. So it's good just to set those expectations.
Carrie, I got one more final thought on this. One thing that this does kind of lead to the next step, you guys, is when we begin training, right? We go down the join, which is basically what we're talking about today, discover, which is then the orientation, if you will, that's going to happen monthly, and then the two pathways, whether it's a launch for a new agent or elevate for an experienced agent. And just for your know, when that agent receives that booklet or that guidebook, whether it's digital or in print, a lot of the steps are still captured in that document that we're asking the agent to check off that those indeed got done. Even though they're done as part of this process we just went through automatically, it's basically a check and balance for us to make sure, oh, did we get that done? Is the agent aware that that was done? And so you guys will be asked here in the weeks ahead to come together and figure out exactly what that looks like for your regions, who's going to do what, those kind of questions. But all of those things are also captured in those guidebooks. So it's kind of a way for us to make sure we didn't drop the ball on something or something falls through the cracks.
Yep, absolutely. And the forms are ready, but we haven't quite launched this yet. But for your guys' knowledge, a little sneak peek, we actually now have an ACH form and a credit card form. So outside of the new agent onboarding, for agents that are with us currently, if they would like to update their credit card or ACH with accounting, we're going to have a new very secure jot form that they can go online and fill out. It's sent securely to accounting. They're the only ones that can see it. And then that information deletes itself after 7 days. So it's a really secure way. No more phone calls to Kristen or Mike Griffith. They'll be able to do it right online at their convenience. So we're pretty excited, and we'll get that launched over the next few days here.
Carrie, Michelle Cruz asked the question, will we be able to see those guidebooks I mentioned? Yes, your DSGs will be provided, both of them. They were just actually wrapped up yesterday. I saw the final proof. And so they'll be provided to DSGs. DSGs will distribute or provide for your group and bring everybody kind of together to talk about what that looks like in each one of your pockets. And then there will be orderables. So if you go into the normal marketing square on Schmidt Resources to make an order, just like you order a blue book as an example, you'll be able to order those in quantities for your DSG or your manager to have a few on hand. We're not ordering thousands and putting them and shipping them in boxes to everybody. We're going to order them kind of as you need them, and they'll be available for you. So yes, you'll be able to see those guidebooks in advance of us actually using them. Because I think next week and the week after, we're hoping that there'll be some regional conversations about what those guidebooks mean and how we're going to do those at the local level.
Jason, they'll also be in the Schmidt Resources Education Square.
There you go. Good.
Great. Haley, this question's for you real quick. From Nicole in Ohio there. Will you be creating the agent's Moxie website URLs? Did we confirm that process?
Yes. So that's one of my processes is to create the URL and then make sure that search engines can find them. I am going to send them a request to access to their Moxie within that 24-hour period of signing them up. And then once that's all done, I do remove my access to it. So that's the only thing I do in Moxie. If the agent does need help with anything else in Moxie, that would fall on the ASC or the RSC in charge of that. What did I want to say? That was it.
Okay, great. And that does allow us for consistency. First dash last dot, the region's URL. So that allows us to have consistency. So we appreciate that, Haley. Thank you so much for that answer.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And
Carrie?
yeah, go ahead.
I just had a quick question. Are the Join the Blue books still going to be printed and we'll still be using those or not going forward?
We don't have the brand's updated stats yet from 2024. So none of the books have been updated yet, but that still will be an offering moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, those are in Schmidt Resources, Pete. So you can access those anytime you'd like, okay, in the presentation square.
Both digital versions are there, and then if you wanted to order some physicals, I think you could go through that same square and order one accordingly. Once they're updated, of course. Otherwise, you'd be getting the old one. Is that still true, Trace?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, some of DSGs, we're seeing them kind of gear those Join the Blue books more towards customization with them as well in their area. So yeah, we can customize, or you can take them as is, whatever you need.
Thank you.
Great.
You're welcome.
The question was, should the local ASC, RSC terminate with the local board? And yes, go ahead. If usually you have the relationship with the local board, there's really usually there's not a form to sign. Usually it's an email. And so absolutely go ahead and notify your board right away. As soon as you know the agent's leaving, notify the board, then fill off the offboarding form. That would be a great way to handle that. And Deanna, I agree, Haley is a dream to work with, and she is very patient. And so we appreciate everything that she's doing to get this online.
Thank you, Deanna. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great. Well, if there's nothing else, I know there will be at some time in the future, so don't hesitate to reach out. We'll send some recap information to you guys. And if you have any questions, if you have any further insight into the process, we'd love to hear it. So thanks guys so much for your time. Jason, thank you so much for your input and insight. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye now.